every fintech will have a slightly different interpretation, and that I can assure you that probably each bank's implementation will be slightly different, because there are a number of clarification questions that as you start to build this and start to look into this, you start asking. And we've already been contacted by at least 8 TPPs asking questions about specific use cases and how we would handle it and what they need to do. So there's obviously a lot of questions out there still to be answered, I think, on the lower level detail.
We spent a lot of time looking at this question, and as you can imagine, one of the reasons it's taken us some time between putting it in the roadmap and coming out with decisions is this question was on the CMA's mind as well. Now, we've only mandated this for sweeping, and the risks are lower, clearly, if you're moving money between a customer's own accounts. So we looked at that. We published some guidance material as well, as part of what we call the standard version 3.1.9, which, by the way, is where we've had some of the feedback around the definition point that Stephen has just talked about. So we will be looking at that clearly and coming out with some help on that point as well. But we've taken consumer protection very seriously and had a lot of input from our consumer reps on our steering group and other consumer representatives too. And as I said, we've published that guidance around sweeping. When it comes to VRPs per se, our role kind of moves away. Our role has been to come up with a standard, to come up with customer experience guidelines, but not to go into the detail of what might happen in that conversation with the likes of Kat and Blad and the likes of Stephen at RBS and Natwest. So how that all works through and who might be liable for what and what the consumer protection offer might be has to be determined by those organisations. But we've provided the guidance. What I would say around consumer protection, of course, is there's built-in consumer protections in the standard. There's built-in consent parameters which enable the customer to say, for example, the frequency of payments. So within that, there's a double lock on that, because the PISP can show that to the customer and the ASPSP can show that to the customer too. And the customer has the ability to look at that and review those consents, and if necessary, and if they choose to revoke those consents. And that's significantly more control and transparency than you currently get with other forms of payment in this space. So we think that it's a built-in level of protection, but we're not saying we've solved every single question. We think some of those things need to be solved by the market. That hasn't been for us to resolve.